Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to spend with me. This is Cheap Comic Collector, and this is episode number 236. Today, we're doing a What Am I Reading episode. We got about 5 books to go through, so I'll try to make it quick and keep it under 30 minutes if we can. Just wanted to say hi. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. And now that we said that, let me get that out of there. And let me just swap over to the other camera. We'll go ahead and get started. I do want to show, I promised in the last episode that I would show my uh, tape ball because Easy Comic Reader wanted to see that. So let me just grab the camera up top and show it to you. There it is. That's the current tape ball. I'm just going to keep adding to it. And as you can see, it's sprouted arms and legs. No eyes yet, but that must be on. It will develop consciousness at any moment. Um, so let me get the camera back up here. There we go. And we're just gonna go through these books that I've just read, and I'm not gonna turn the light on because we're gonna take them out of the plastic to take a look at them anyway. So yeah. First off, we have Black Lightning and Hong Kong Phooey, #1. So this was a one shot. As you guys know, they did a series of one shots with a DC superhero and a Hanna-Barbera character that mostly brought the Hanna-Barbera characters into the DC universe in a realistic style. I think it would have been more fun if they looked actually like the cartoon characters, but that's okay. So this one has Bronze Tiger, Cheshire, and Professor Presto. I'm not sure if Professor Presto is a new character or not. I've never heard of him before. And maybe my glasses in the other room, so I can't quite read. Well, maybe if I turn the light on, I will be able to. There we go. This one's written by Brian Hill, pencils by Dennis Cohen, inks by Bill Sienkiewicz. Okay, so pretty much all-star team there of art. And so this is a few things struck me. First of all, Bronze Tiger is a bad guy in this, which I don't remember him really being a bad guy. I know he worked with Suicide Squad and stuff, but in my day, he didn't do it by choice. He was kind of forced into it. So anyway, this is Black Lightning. That's Jefferson Pierce. He's meeting with Hong Kong Phooey there, and apparently the bad guys are robbing some kind of scrolls from museums and stuff that teach you how to use something called the God Fist, and it's a corrupting power that has an evil bent to it apparently, and so they go after the bad guys, and you got Hong Kong Phooey doing some karate hijinks there, or kung fu or whatever, and I mean it was fun, but there wasn't anything extra special about it. In the DC universe, apparently they've known each other for a while. They're old friends or something, or maybe Hong Kong Phooey was even a mentor to Black Lightning at some point if he was learning judo or something. I don't know, but they battle basically for control over this evil, and then at the end, Hong Kong Phooey has to resist the evil, and that's pretty much all there is to it. It's pretty much a straightforward storyline. Not great story wise. Art was good. It was fun. Um, I was more impressed actually by the Funky Phantom backup because you've got Jason Blood doing a ritual to bring the ghost of the Funky Phantom from the Revolutionary War into present day, and everybody wants to talk to him about gun control. So they're asking him all these questions about the Constitution and stuff. Well, he died before the Constitution was written, so he doesn't really know what they're talking about. So he has to sit there and read the whole thing so he knows what to tell them. And so it's a little story about gun control and whether people should have the right to bear arms and have automatic rifles and so forth. So that was interesting. I would have actually this is a character that I could see having a series that would be interesting as he interacts with as a ghost with the modern day DC universe. I think that would be cool. But so all in all, not bad. But I did enjoy the backup better than the main story. And then this was in my reading box. It's number 1 of 6 from Sirius by Doug Moench and Paul Gulacy, and it was pretty good. It's straight up science fiction. It's a story that was originally done for Epic Illustrated, but they didn't publish it in Epic Illustrated. They went ahead and put it in as a miniseries because by the time they had it done, Epic had a whole line of comics, not just Epic Illustrated. So it's very wordy. It's a long read. This is maybe the longest it has ever taken me to read a comic book, because by the time I got to reading these pages right here, I stopped and took a breath and was like, if this was a modern comic, I would have been done by now. This is only 1, 2, 3, 4. This is only page 4 and 5. So, but it wasn't bad. It's sci-fi, which I like science fiction, but I sometimes have a hard time reading it because they always use all this made up technical jargon and stuff that doesn't really mean anything. So I have a hard time sometimes getting through all of that. I tend to just kind of skim it and get the idea of what they're talking about rather than just sitting there and plotting through it and understanding everything. But it was a good story. They have to rescue this lady from a satellite that's protected by robots, and she doesn't want to go. She thinks she's there for her protection, and they're trying to rescue her and convince her to go to some vote about the future of the moon that she lives on. And so they're trying to convince her that things aren't what she thinks they are. And that's pretty much the end. There's 2 chapters in here, and it goes on to. I have the second issue of this somewhere, and someday I'll find it. It's in my books someplace. Next up, we have Uncle Scrooge 111, and on the cover, you got the traditional gag cover. Only probably Richie Rich is the only other character who can do that with ice skates. And when I realized what story this was last night, I didn't read it because I have read this story so many times in my life that I can almost remember it. But then this morning I felt like reading it, and so I went ahead and read it this morning. And it's Uncle Scrooge. In this book, it's listed as the mysterious unfinished invention. I think that's an added title. I'm not sure if it had a title to begin with. It was originally published in Uncle Scrooge number 8, and this is one of the best Uncle Scrooge stories, in my opinion. It's a perfect story by Karl Barks. He starts out in the money bin, diving through his money, but he's sick. He doesn't feel good. It isn't that I don't love money as much as ever. It's just that, well, I'd better go to see a doctor. So he goes to the doctor, and the reason he feels bad is because there's gold dust plugging his pores. So his body can't really breathe. So his doctor tells him to basically go to a windy place. So he's thinking about taking a sea voyage, but doesn't want to spend the time to do that. And then he sees his nephew's beachcombing, and they find a bottle in the water that has an SOS in it. So, because the guy is stranded on a deserted island. So Uncle Scrooge decides it's worth the trip because there may be like gold mines or something that he can discover on, because since it's uncharted territory. And because he's cheap, he's only stocked the galley with cabbage because it was only 2 cents a pound. So that's all they have to eat is cabbage. And that's an ongoing joke throughout the story. And so they get to the island. And of course, they're there to rescue the guy, but really Uncle Scrooge is only interested in prospecting. And, they get in there and they find there's this mysterious guy that captures Donald Duck. And of course, it turns out to be a Beagle Boy. And but let's take a second to look at the art because it's just um great art by Carl Barks. Look at the waves in that third panel, and just the silhouettes of the Beagle Boys and Donald Duck, and the shading and the whole way that the thing is laid out. So is very awesome. So the nephews are able to turn the uh, tables on the Beagle Boy and capture him. Meanwhile, Uncle Scrooge is on the island finding that everything is living except for the trees and shrubbery is made of stone. The monkeys are stone, the butterflies are stone, the parrots are stone, and he thinks they're all stone carvings until he finds stone carvings of the Beagle Boys. So it turns out there's some kind of mysterious ray on the island that turns everything to stone, and they're because they're on the far side of the island off of that cliff that they're not susceptible to it there. And so the Beagle Boy tells him about it. He thinks there's Martians up there with some kind of ray. He turned all his brothers to stone. And so Uncle Scrooge, says it's safe to go up there. I've been walking around up there all day, and so they all go up there, and Donald Duck and the nephews are turned to stone. And for some reason, Uncle Scrooge is not susceptible to it. So he goes back down where the other nephew is guarding the Beagle Boy, and they're getting pelted by stone pellets because the rain is turning to stone. And then it turns back into the water. So they realize if they take the nephews down, beyond the reach of the ray, they'll turn back to flesh. So they do that, and then so Uncle Scrooge, since he's can't be turned to stone for some reason, he goes exploring and he finds this panel, which is just awesome. That'd make a great poster. And so there's this nutty scientist on there who has invented a ray that turns everything to stone, and he thinks they're there to steal it. But the reason he's there is he was trying to invent fumeless cabbage, and he invented this stone ray instead. So they cook some cabbage up to lure him down and capture him, and are able to let Uncle Scrooge go. So everything is explained. And normally, for any other writer, including if I was writing this, I would probably have ended it there. But not Carl Barks. He keeps going. The Beagle Boys are now flesh and stone, and they have control of the ray. And so they're taking over. And things progress quickly after that. The Beagle Boys can't actually use the ray because the professor has the key, and so on and so forth. So all that ends well, except they're going back home with nothing to eat but cabbage still. So just an awesome story by Carl Barks. This is one of the best stories that Carl Barks has ever done. Everything's just perfect in it. If you don't like this story by Carl Barks, you're not going to like Disney comics. That's all I've got to say. And if you think you don't like Disney comics, read this story. Next up, ElfQuest, #1 from Marvel, 1985. ElfQuest, of course, started being self-published by Wendy and Richard Pini before they approached Marvel about doing a reprint series. And Marvel actually was offered the series to begin with, but they turned it down. And that's when the Pinis decided to publish it themselves. And then years later, they went back to Marvel again, who was willing to, the same editor who turned them down, Archie Goodwin, said, yeah, we'll go ahead and print that after it was successful, of course. So I've never actually read ElfQuest before. I think I have a couple issues and I paged through them, but I never sat down and read them because I never had the beginning of the story and I didn't really understand what it was other than it's about elves. So I I got the first issue in a while back. I immediately put it into my reading pile because I've been wanting to read the series for years. And so this is the first issue, and it starts off in a flashback back in time where on this planet, um, the humans are still basically caveman at this point, right? And the elves, for some reason, have to flee their home dimension or whatever you want to call it. So this castle appears in the sky, and the refugees who are escaping come onto this planet where the caveman type humans are. They're scared, so they immediately start slaughtering the elves. So the ones who can get away flee into the forest, and then it jumps to modern uh, or current times on this planet with the current elves, and they ride wolves, and the humans are still trying to kill them. They think they're evil uh, when the elves just want to live in peace, basically. Um, so they run a raiding party because the humans have captured one of the elves and are going to kill him. So they get him back, and the witch doctor or whatever you want to call him, leader of the humans, are decide to burn the forest down to purge themselves of the elves, even though that will basically destroy them as well. So they try to reason with them, they try to fight them, and then but the forest is on fire, so they have to flee. And so they flee to the cavern of the trolls and basically force their way in past the guard, who they have dealings with, but they're not supposed to actually be in the caverns. And they find their way to the king of the trolls, and that's pretty much the end of the first issue. So very cool stuff. The artwork is awesome by Wendy Pini, and it's very well written. It's very well plotted. It's a fun fantasy series. You got the trolls and what they look like, and this one is called Pick Nose, and that's the king there of the trolls. So yeah, I'm anxious to get. And then there's a little there's a one page by Richard Pini talking about the history of the series, and then there's a page by Archie Goodwin admitting his mistake in not publishing it in the first place. And it's just a fun series. This is in bad shape. It's got a bad tear right here on the spine that I actually have to tape. So I'm gonna put that aside to do that. Then next up, I actually pulled this one from the sale pile when I was getting the books ready for the next sale. Um, the sale will have taken place by now, so uh, by the time you see this. But somebody said this was really good, so I went ahead and read it, and it was pretty good. It's by Mike Barr and Alan Davis and Mark Farmer, so all-star cast of creators, and it brings back the character called the Reaper who appeared in Batman Year Two. Um, and it's a little bit of a history of Batman and Robin. Great art on the opening there by Alan Davis and Mark Farmer, just awesome. And I'm not going to go through the whole storyline because it's a little convoluted, and I don't want to give anything away. But it's basically there's a character that's wants to kill Batman or Bruce Wayne. Is it Batman or Bruce Wayne? I think it's Batman. Um, I mean, they're one and the same to us, but not to him. And harkening back to the origins of Batman. Basically, he blames Batman for the death of Cho Chill, who is his father, and then he also has a son that's in this. And so it's about him trying to get revenge, and the whole that's why it's called Full Circle. The whole thing just coming back around. So good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, Batman, Elfquest, Uncle Scrooge, Six from Sirius, Black Lightning, Hong Kong Fury. Best is Uncle Scrooge, even though I've read it 20 times. There's no denying that this is classic Karl Marx. This is fantastic. Next up, probably ElfQuest, then Batman Full Circle, only because there's just so many Batman stories. There's only so much you can do with it. Then Six from Sirius, and then Black Lightning Hong Kong Fooey actually comes in last, even though I liked Hong Kong Fooey as a kid. Just wasn't that great of an issue. It was fine, but it wasn't special. These four are all special. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time.